It's really at stake for your wallet if Congress does extend the Bush tax cuts even for the next couple of years. Is it going to stimulate jobs and the economy and make everybody feel better? Here now we have Boyce Watkins. He's professor of finance at Syracuse University. And we have Reuters, breaking views, money and politics columnist James Pethokoukis, Jimmy P. All right, Jimmy P., you heard what Eamon said. We all heard what the president said. Is your reporting online with this? And are we looking, let's get the facts on the table. Not a permanent, but a temporary, what, 2-year extension of all the Bush tax cuts. Is that on the table?
I think there is no way this president is going to go on his Hawaiian vacation in December with this still an open issue. So I think we're going to get a temporary extension of all the Bush tax cuts done, not in January, during the lame duck session. And Eamon was saying, the president's going to want something in return. Well, I think what he's going to want in return is more tax cuts. I think he's going to want his making work pay tax credit extended. He's going to want AMT relief, which is especially relevant to a lot of his blue state upper income voters. So it's almost like a bit of a tax cut bidding war at this point. And I'm guessing that we're going to see a few more tax cuts even when we get into 2011.
So, Boyce, welcome back, by the way. A tax cut bidding war. That sounds awfully good for American taxpayers.
Well, I think that tax cuts can certainly be beneficial if you cut the right taxes for the right segment of the population. I haven't seen a lot of evidence and a lot of research to really imply that cutting taxes for the rich is going to stimulate the economy. And so I think that if we are consistent with the theme of fiscal responsibility, which has been touted by the Republicans for quite a while right now, or at least since Obama was elected, I would challenge them to show that cutting taxes for the rich or extending those tax cuts for the rich would actually stimulate the economy, and I just haven't seen that evidence.
Let me just do the math for you. I mean, Goldman Sachs, their estimate is that if you would let those top-end tax rates increase, it would knock about 0.2% off GDP. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you take that estimate and run it through the White House's own multipliers, that's the difference between a 0.5 percentage point to 0.7 percentage points in the unemployment rate. The difference between unemployment being at 9.6 or 10.3. It's not a boom, but it's pretty darn important.
Boyce, what do you make of that?
Well, I think that the issue is not whether or not it benefits the economy on some level. The question is whether it benefits at the optimal level. I've personally believe that additional cuts for small business and incentives for hiring might be more effective when you talk about reducing the unemployment rate. Really, in spite of what a lot of people believe, a very small percentage of the small businesses in America are run by people who make over $250,000 per year. And I'm actually in that category, so I'm going to benefit personally from the tax cut. But I think if in a larger standpoint, it certainly isn't beneficial to our economy.
Listen, if you go away from math for a second, listen, this is an administration that for the past 2 years has just been pounding on business. First Wall Street and then really the rest of corporate America. This is going to send such an amazing message, I think, to business saying, you know what, I kind of get it. I know there's a problem. I'm starting to understand now that these tax cuts might affect, business confidence, entrepreneurial activity. I think it's a winner every way from Tuesday.
See, Boyce, let me just ask you this. Look, the election results speak loudly in favor of putting all the Bush tax cuts through. That was one of the messages from the election results. But let me ask you a more analytical question. Given the difficulty of reigniting job creation and getting unemployment down, and it isn't just the unemployed, it's the marginally unemployed that's as much as 17%. This seems like the wrong time to experiment. I know the Keynesians are debating the supply-siders. I appreciate that debate. I appreciate which side you're on, which side I'm on, and so forth, and Jimmy. But this looks like the wrong time to make a bet, Boyce. Why should we experiment now? It seems like we need all the help we can possibly get.
Well, I don't think it's an experiment per se. I don't think that the election results were a referendum on whether we should cut taxes for the rich. I think if you did a poll if you did a poll on the voters who supported the Republicans in this election, and Obama must concede defeat because there were some messages being sent in this election, I think that a poll would show that they're not voting for the Republicans because they want to support and advocate for wealthy people. They're voting for the Republicans because they're hoping that they can actually stimulate the economy.
In Washington State, Patty Murray land, there was a referendum about whether to raise taxes on the top 1%. Now, blue Washington State, that referendum lost 2-1.
That was
Patty Murray's about to win, lost 2-1.
The Bill Gates referendum.
That's right.
Gates wants the tax hike, and Steve Ballmer didn't, and neither did Jeff Bezos of Amazon. And are you telling me that Bill Gates and his father were trounced soundly, Jimmy P?
I think it was 65-35.
That
It wasn't even close.
That is what I call a shellacking.
It is a shellacking, Larry. It is a shellacking.
Bill Gates would not advocate cutting taxes for the rich. Let's be clear. In order for us to stimulate jobs, we've got to change.
Voters rejected it.
We've got to fundamentally change how our economy works. Trickle-down economics does not work. We also know that what we've been doing for the past 12 years does not work. So ultimately, the unemployment rate will not go down to the level that we think it should go down to until we change how we operate. And extending the Bush tax cuts is certainly not the answer to that
Jimmy P,
problem.
let me ask you one more if we have a bidding war for tax cuts. One of President Obama's proposals, which has gotten short shrift, but I'd like to put it back on the table, is 100% cash expensing for business investment write-offs. Now, why wouldn't that be in the mix as well? That would help business. That would help jobs. That's one of the surest fire job creators. 100% immediate write-offs for all investments made by large, medium, and small businesses. The president has come out for that, and I endorse it, and I'm with Obama on this. So what's going to happen to that one?
That would not surprise me if that is also part of this big lame duck tax agreement, as well as this research tax credit. But listen, and then in 2011, I've been talking to my sources. There's a chance that this new House GOP leadership, right out of the box, is going to call for a massive corporate income tax cut.
Well, and sometime in my lifetime, someone will cut spending. I guess that's got to be out there someplace.
Right.
Got to be. Anyway, Boyce Watkins, thank you very much. Jimmy Pethokoukis, as always, coming up on Kudlow.